Our old Facebook ads account structure looked like this. One campaign per product or category, multiple ad sets, and then each ad set had roughly around 3 to 5 ads. But for scaling, what was the situation? It was use advantage plus with lowest cost. That was the general trend about account structure which we tried to have. But we started to find flaws in it, and it was not robust for multiple accounts. We started to find some errors. For example, the same creative were there in multiple places, so we could not define as to what set of creative is working with what targeting, or is there a pattern in targeting, because the same creative was performing well in one ad set while was not performing well in the other ad set. We had issues with that. And next, but we didn't know which ad set has which creatives. Then the testing of creatives was quite haphazard, because it was one creative in one place, the other creative in second place, no pattern matching, no theming, no creative angle. Iterations were also mixed with testing winners. Winners were not isolated and scaled properly. So all this, for example, but now we have started changing it. We have moved from iteration based testing to concept based testing. Iteration based testing, as you can see in the left, it's a iteration based, where you are mostly changing the headline, but the messaging remains the same. You are still talking about the same sustainability part, natural part, just in a different way. But this is concept based testing. You're talking about two very different things about the same product. That's what concept based. For example, in the left you have no snacking, no craving, and in the right it is about black edition and more of about price. You don't have price as a conscious thing here. So that is what we are trying to do. More of concept testing than iteration testing. Let's see our new ad account structure, how we fare about. So this is our new ad account structure. This is concept testing, this is for scaling, and this is for best campaign, best creators. First, concept testing. Here we usually have two ad sets. Each ad set, one is a interest based and the other one is a broad. Each creative is added in both one broad and one interest minimum. That's maximum also. That's maximum also and minimum also. The same creative is added in one interest and one broad. Now, why the reason broad is targeted is because how well the creative can scale in a broad audience is what we want to see. Okay, interest it might be working, but when we start scaling, it might falter. Hence, we want to observe how well it can scale for the same reason. And then, if you want to test iterations, we try to duplicate a good ad set which is already performing and try to move all the iterations of the same concept. For example, this is one iteration we want to test, say concept 1, then all the concepts, all the iterations in that particular ad set will have just one concept and 3 iterations, like that. You can ignore the naming here. Observe, this is concept 1, iteration 1, concept 1, iteration 2, concept 1, iteration 3. That's how the naming will be. That's how we test iterations. How we test creators is more of into different ad sets level and try to gather data. Here once again is naming pattern is followed so that we can isolate by type of creative, messaging of the creative, theming of the creative, launch of the creative, when it was done, without offer, what with offer, everything there. That is more of into concept testing. Now how do we scale it? We usually scale via bit cap or cost cap. Here it's usually a broad ad set or a interest based ad set. Interest based ad set is chosen based on which is it performing well or not. If the same interest based ad set is performing well on multiple set of creatives, we try to move it into a broad ad set, a scaling ad set, pardon me. Now, the main question arises, what if we don't know what's the best ad set? What is the best targeting? The only answer from me is always try 5 different interests, at least one will stick, and then you can start scaling or start moving and iterating on that particular ad set. That's how we start to always do it. If most of the accounts do have information, but what if it does not? Then you start with any 5 interests, and if one can be broad in that, at least minimum, and the other can be interest groups. That's how scaling is done. Scaling, usually when we observe, we keep the cost cap at least 50 to 100 rupees higher than what the initial CPA target we are able to achieve for that creative in the concept testing phase. Usually it is 50, 100 rupees higher, because there needs to be a leeway for Facebook also to not just be crammed into a same concept and CPA. Now here, when we have a really good creative, we start pushing it on Advantage Plus. Only the best of the creators make it to Advantage Plus. There we rarely turn off any creators, because if one is not performing, the other one starts to perform. It picks up automatically, we have observed. So Advantage Plus like that in scaling has been helpful across accounts, across niches. So this is how our new ad account structure right now is, where concept testing is more defined and creative testing is less, because we want to test more concepts. That's what our philosophy has been recently. Now, what's the sum up? More focus is on concept testing, reduce human intervention when scaling, because if you see, it's more of cost cap basis where human intervention is minimum, and hence we can maximize the potential and effectiveness of the campaign and performance.